Are you ready to learn what are the top 5 skills that you need to master when you're becoming a social media virtual assistant? In this video, I'm going to walk you through what are those top 5 skills and what it looks like from beginner to intermediate to mastery so you can become the amazing social media virtual assistant I know that you are. Now, the first one is mastering a social media platform. Now, when you're a social media virtual assistant, you might be wanting to lean into one more or the other. Let's say, for example, you want to be a master on just Instagram, you're a master on just Facebook, you're a master on just LinkedIn. But it's important to learn essentially what those algorithms look like. And if you've never heard what an algorithm is, or you've heard of it and you never know what it is basically how a platform decides on if this content is good or not. That is the simplest way that I can explain that. But essentially, anytime, for example, like on Instagram at one point, reels were all the rage. If you posted a reel, Instagram boosts that. If you posted a carousel post, Instagram boosts that. Different times on different platforms will have different changes essentially to their algorithms on what works and what doesn't, so you want to look out for that. Now, what the beginner looks like for this, if you're trying to master a platform, is that you understand essentially what a social media platform is, you understand what it looks like, how it works, how to post, how to create a post, how to comment on things. You just know the basic functionalities of it. Now, an intermediate level of learning a platform is you now know how to use other tools with it as well. You've learn, for example, how to schedule things, how to use tools like Buffer or Hootsuite or any other tools for using that social media platform. You know how to use a content calendar, and you have a good way to understand analytics or numbers that are coming from the social media platform. So if you've never seen an analytic report before, it's essentially tracking what posts have worked and how the social media profile look like basically for that week. So as a really good example, every single week in 2XU, our amazing social media manager goes ahead and shows us like, hey, these are the changes of what happened last week versus this week. These are the posts that we did really well. So then we might want to lean into these kinds of posts a little bit more. You know, this costs a lot of engagement, so we probably want to create more of this. Or this actually sucked. No one actually interacted with this. Let's not move forward with this. That's essentially what analytics is. It gives us data basically to make decisions on how to move forward. So learning how to read analytics on a Facebook, on LinkedIn, on an Instagram page is going to be important for you to be on that intermediate level, because you're going to be able to show up for your client of like, hey, I know my stuff. I know what this is supposed to look like. I know that these posts work because I've actually tested them out. Let's do more of this. Now, the mastery of this is being able to know what is the current algorithm, like learning what is Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or even TikTok is currently pushing when it comes to the type of content. I remember at one point on TikTok, videos of people being inside their cars just telling a story time was a big thing, versus nowadays it is a mix a little bit of more pushing AI content or landscape content. So that is what it looks like to master the social media platforms, is you've gotten to the point where you are able to follow the trend, not just ride it, but actually master the trend just so you can show up better than any other person. And at this point, when it comes to social media management for the platform, is you've kind of also started building a community around the brand that you're supporting. So you're engaging with people, you're getting them to comment, you're getting them to do the call to action. You're able to do a lot of things with the platform because you've now mastered and know what this audience is saying. On Facebook, you know, this type of post works well. On LinkedIn, this type of post works well. So depending on if you want to be a master on one platform or you want to be more of a generalist social media virtual assistant, you definitely can. You don't have to just choose one or the other. Different people work for different things. You just want to experiment and find and see what makes sense for you and your skills. Now, the second skill that you need to master as a social media virtual assistant is essentially content creation and curation. What that means is creating the graphics, creating the copy for the actual posts that go out. It's being able to see and look at your competitors, look at what they're doing well and how you can apply it to yourself. Or it could be just repurposing content as well, of content that your client might have already made a year ago and making it your own, repurposing it, making it just smaller bits of content, or even having them refilm it just because it worked really well. So what the beginner of this looks like is kind of just your very basic putting up a post. You're probably using Canva, using one of their templates, and then you're just putting up just a short caption about that post. That is what the basics of this looks like. Now, the intermediate of this is you've started creating more curated for the brand that you're working with kind of posts. So for example, you're now able to create images, you're able to create text, you're able to create videos maybe, or maybe again repurposing shorter versions of that video. So it's now that you are able to, across different types of content, you're able to create those types of content, maybe a blog post, maybe you've created a newsletter, for example, so on and so forth. So this is what the intermediate of this, because you're just really focused on the content creation. Now, the mastery of content creation and curation is essentially you're now focused on data-driven for your content. So again, the first skill we talked about mastering how to look at analytics. At this point, you've now mastered looking at what content works, what doesn't, so you can very quickly be able to shift and see what else could be done and focus on the content that actually does better on a platform. This also shows in the versatility basically of like when the algorithm changes or the trend comes up, you're able to easily shift your content to match that. Third skill to master as a social media VA is essentially community engagement and management. What this looks like is essentially you've gotten to the point where you're managing maybe a Facebook group, a LinkedIn group, some Discord group as well that counts as social media. You're able to gather people along, keep them engaged, keep the posts alive, keep the group alive, and you're able to get expertise as you need it. So beginner of this is you're just able to respond to comments and questions in a very friendly and timely manner. The intermediate of this is you're proactively looking at comments of how people are interacting with one another, and you're making sure that people are aligned with what the guidelines are. So if they're posting something that's out of place or they're commenting something that's out of place, is you're basically maintaining the culture within the community. Now, what the mastery of this looks like is you're able to actually develop strategies on how to keep the engagement high. You're not just reacting to people posting, you're now responding to it based on like, hey, this post from someone else actually did really well. Let's create more of those. Let's encourage more of this behavior so people keep coming back to the group, keep coming back to the community basically. You're able to keep on trend on what is happening in that industry as well. So let's say, for example, you have a group full of people who are AI consultants. Anytime that a piece of news comes out on AI, you're able to put that into the community, have them discuss, have them engage a little bit better, and essentially just again get people to keep coming back. Now, the fourth one is a little bit more of, depending on your client, depending on your focus, is learning how to do social media advertising. Now, I was literally just talking about this with my co-founder as we're boosting things inside of 2XU, and for the AI agency that I've just started is pushing out ads on Facebook and Instagram to get more attention basically, or more awareness of other people of our own target audience. So essentially, as you're scrolling through Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, you always will see ads, because that's essentially one of the ways that you get to know if something is worth looking at. This person is actually willing to pay for you to look at this. That's essentially how ads work. The beginner level of this is just I have the basic understanding of how they work when it comes to budgeting, targeting, creating the ad. The intermediate of this is now you are actively creating all of these ads. You're able to monitor and analyze and know what works and what doesn't, and make basic optimizations as you are seeing the data come in. Now, the mastery of this is essentially you've gotten to the point where you know what ads work. You're able to split test them. You're able to see easily if an ad is failing and being able to cut it off. You're able to base it off of the analytics and the data you're getting, and you can manage multiple complex ads basically, because what works on Facebook might not work on Instagram, even though they're the same platform when you're creating an ad. What works on LinkedIn might not work somewhere else. So it's optimizing based on the platform that you are at, what your ad would look like. So it means that you might have different ads looking like different things just because it's the same message all the same. And the last skill, and I've said this multiple times in this video just because it is a really important skill to master when you're becoming a social media VA, is reporting and analytics. And what this means is, again, essentially you are able to look at the numbers and understand what content and what platform and what kind of audience you guys should be focused on for the next campaign. So a beginner level of this is you're just able to generate, maybe just based off of Facebook, based off of Instagram, what the metrics look like, and you're able to just report at it. Intermediate is you're actually able to have a more complex report of like, this is how many people clicked on this link, this is why people clicked on this link, this is the call to action that we put on this link. You're now getting into the more minute details basically of the report, and not just giving what is the baseline from the social media post. And of course, the mastery of this, which is where our social media manager in 2XU is essentially has a whole really pretty report that makes it easy for for even a new person to come in and understand what it is that he's talking about, where he is able to suggest like, hey, I think we should post more on this. I think we need to lessen basically this kind of content, and also change the actual social media strategy and what should come next in the posts in the campaign, because it is data driven. It's not just like, hey, this is pretty, like, oh, this is what works for our audience, let's do more of this. When it comes to being a social media VA, a lot of your focus is really making sure that what you're posting is creating results for your client. It's either getting them emails of other people, people actually buying, that's the ultimate goal, or people wanting to hop on a call with your client. That is essentially a lot of what your focus. And those 5 skills that I talked about, you might be a master in one of them, maybe an intermediate in some of them, and maybe just the beginner on a lot of them, and that is okay. The point of it is, as you are learning to become a better and better social media VA, is you start leaning and pulling levers basically on the different skills that you have, and be able to switch and be flexible, and knowing like, hey, this is where this skill of mine will now start kicking in. We're now on the content creation phase, like, hey, we've created a lot of the content, now I'm going to focus a lot on the analytics part of it. So depending again on where the campaign is at, where your client is at, that might shift and change. But the point of it, of mastering the 5 social media VA skills, is for you to just know what the day-to-day actually looks like of being a social media VA. And if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there, and comment below what type of platform you think you want to master as a social media VA. I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those 2 playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!